It's just the hormones is something that postpartum depression gets dismissed with all the time. And it's also something that it gets blamed on, equally in unhelpful ways. Now, a new genetic study has actually gone looking for the real answer here. Which specific hormone, if any, can causally raise or lower your risk of postpartum depression? Now, the results name two very different suspects, one that raises the risk and one that appears to protect against it. Welcome back, my name is Joanna. I'm making short videos on research-based academic papers, data across various parenting topics, today postpartum mental health, child behaviour, breastfeeding, education, schooling, literally anything that a parent might want to read a study into, so that we can try and make informed decisions and be better parents together. I'm a mum to two children, an almost 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I'm an ex-teacher as well, so this is sort of why I'm interested in all these sorts of things. If you like this idea, please hit like and subscribe. I'd love to have you follow along and join our community. I also have a school community where I'm trying to pull parents together that want to find out about some of these studies in further detail, a place to just share all this sort of stuff, kind of like a Reddit forum, but not on Reddit. So if you like that idea, please do follow along. I'll put my details in the description below. Now let's look at the study itself. This study was published this year, July 2026, so a really recent study, and it's using a method called two-sample Mendelian randomization. That's a bit of a mouthful. I'll put the actual study itself in the description as well. The researchers pulled genetic data linked to 3 hormones that dramatically shift around the time of birth: estradiol, cortisol and progesterone, and it compared it against genetic data from a meta-analysis of postpartum depression across 18 European cohorts covering 17,000 women with postpartum depression. Now, what is the Mendelian randomization method that we're talking about? It deserves a bit of an explanation because it is quite clever. Normally, you would just measure hormone levels in postpartum women and compare them against depression rates, and you wouldn't be able to tell whether the hormones caused the depression or whether the depression itself changed the hormone levels. It can be pretty hard to unpick what's actually going on here. Now, this Mendelian randomization method gets around this by using genetic variants that are known to nudge a person's hormonal levels up or down, variants that you're simply born with, randomly assigned at conception, like a natural lottery that happens in anyone's life before life's confounding factors come, like income, stress, health habits, before they all get involved. So if a person is genetically predisposed to having higher estradiol and they have higher postpartum depression rates, there might be stronger evidence there of actual causation than a simple correlation would be. Genetically predicted higher estradiol was linked to 20% higher risk of postpartum depression. Genetically predicted higher cortisol, on the other hand, was linked to 19% lower risk, the opposite direction. Progesterone caused no significant causal link either way. The researchers also ran it in the reverse direction as well. They checked whether having postpartum depression changed the hormone levels, and they found nothing. So the causal arrow only pointed one way, from hormones to depression risk, not back again. Now let's look at the confounding question: what can we take away from the study? Can we trust the study? Now, the Mendelian randomization is one of the stronger tools available for teasing apart for correlation, but it isn't bulletproof. And one of the specific weaknesses worth naming here are that the genetic instruments for cortisol and progesterone came from much smaller underlying studies, around 3,300 and 1,300 people respectively, compared with the studies on estradiol, which is 164,000 people in those studies. So the smaller genetic studies produce shakier genetic proxies for the actual hormone. So those two results, especially the cortisol finding, deserve to be held a little bit more loosely than the finding about estradiol. It's also genetic population level evidence that we're dealing with, so it tells us something true on average across large groups of people, but it can't tell us about a specific individual woman and what her postpartum hormone shifts are going to do to her or likely to do to her. And this is also about genetically predicted hormone tendencies over a lifetime, not a single measured blood test weeks after birth as well. It didn't look at that. So let's look at the mechanism about why it had got these results. Why might these two hormones be pulling in opposite directions? Estradiol crashes dramatically in the days after birth, and that steep drop-off has been long suspected as a trigger for mood disturbance in women who are more biologically sensitive to hormone changes. So if you think about the baby blues that your midwife might warn you about, that those few days after birth, it generally might happen in women who are more sensitive to hormonal change in the first place. Cortisol, meanwhile, is the body's primary stress response hormone, and here it appears to behave protectively rather than harmfully, because cortisol doesn't necessarily mean that it's harmful. And this fits a broader idea in the field that it's not hormones themselves that are good or bad, but it's rather how a person's particular biology reacts with the hormones' rises and falls. So, what is the parenting takeaway? What can we take away from this? So if you've had postpartum depression, this is genuinely validating evidence. This is not a character flaw. This isn't a parenting failure. It's not something that you've talked yourself into or that you're imagining. There is a plausible gene-backed biological pathway that could potentially be sitting underneath it. It's also not just the hormones in the dismissive sense either, since only one of the 3 hormones actually showed a clear risk-raising effect. If you're newly pregnant or you're postpartum or you're struggling, this doesn't change the practical advice. Reach out for support, speak to your midwife or your GP, find parenting mum groups around you, and know that potentially what is happening to you has real biological roots. It's not your fault. You're not failing at something that was always designed to be straightforward and willpower based, because parenting is not that. It can be really, really hard, and you have to know that you're not in it alone. I really struggled when I had my first baby. It was really hard for that first year, so I understand. Please do find parenting groups. I wish I did that, and looking back, I wish I joined the church earlier as well, because I found that has really helped as well. I hope this video gave you a little bit more compassion for yourself if you are going through this yourself, or you know someone that has. Share it with them. I'm hoping that it might be able to help them. Hit like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments your experiences, and hopefully I'll see you for another video soon. See you later.